Continuing the inspiring talk, ladies and gentlemen, I now take pleasure in welcoming our next keynote speaker, Shri Sudatta Mandal, Deputy Managing Director, Small Industries Development Bank of India, which is SIDBI. I'll take quick 30 to 60 seconds to introduce him. Prior to this, Shri Mandal was Chief General Manager of Exim Bank. Shri Mandal has professional experience of more than 25 years in international trade and investment finance, project finance, structured lending, small and medium enterprises, lending, including cluster financing and trade finance. He's a BTech in electrical engineering from IIT Kanpur and holds a postgraduate diploma in management with specialization in finance from IIM Calcutta. Although not required, but a quick introduction to SIDBI. Since its formation in 1990, SIDBI has been impacting the lives of citizens across various strata of society through its integrated, innovative, and inclusive approach. Be it traditional domestic small entrepreneurs, bottom of the pyramid entrepreneurs, to high-end knowledge-based entrepreneurs, SIDBI has directly or indirectly touched the lives of MSEs through various credit and development engagements. SIDBI 2.0 carries the vision of inclusive, innovative, and impact-oriented engagements. A very, very warm welcome, Mr. Mandal.
Thank you, Neha, so much for your kind words. How much time do you have?
We have 15 minutes, sir.
Okay, great. I'll try to be quick. Thank you so much. Good morning and good afternoon to all of you, depending on which part of the globe you're from. I would like to thank the Impact Investors Council and Climate Collective for inviting me to deliver the keynote address and congratulate them on this pioneering and collaborative endeavor. I'm sure the discussions held yesterday and today will successfully address the issue of bringing together different stakeholders, including the MSMEs, in the ecosystem to create a more conducive investment landscape for tackling the challenges of climate change in India. I understand that today's sessions are woven around the themes of climate tech innovations on sustainable mobility and waste to value, as well as financing opportunities for climate tech startups. That the conference is being attended by climate tech entrepreneurs, MSMEs, gives us hope and inspiration that together we will be able to mitigate the climate changes to a great extent. Before I delve into the themes of today's evening, let me do a bit of a reality check for you, just to set the context. According to the recently released report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, global mean temperature will cross 1.5 degree centigrade limit in the current decade or next, and the 2 degree centigrade mark during 2040 to 2060. This will have serious deleterious consequences for the planet and its people. Among others, under continued warming, glaciers will be lost globally. Due to ice glacier melting and thermal expansion of water, sea levels are increasing faster than ever. For the Indian subcontinent, the current rate is between 3 and 5 centimeters per decade from the west to the east coast. A 3 centimeter per decade of sea level rise is equivalent to a disproportionate 17 meters of land carved away from the coast every decade, considering the slope along the coastal zone. The recent IPCC reports warn us about multiple extreme weather events which have already ravaged the country. With cyclones Tokte and Yas in May 2021, we saw storm surges to the height of 5 meters and above, pushing water onto the land in the coastal areas. During the Maharashtra floods in July 2021, the Indian Meteorological Department recorded 1,074 millimeters of rain at the Mahabaleshwar hill station in just 2 days. All that water ran down the hills, causing landslides and overflowing the rivers, thereby flooding the downstream towns, killing more than 200 people. Europe had a massive heat wave, killing about 70,000 people in 2003. Mumbai had its devastating floods in 2005, killing more than 1,000, and now floods are an annual affair for the city. Research has shown that human-induced climate change is behind these events. Though climate change is global, the challenges are always local. While curbing emissions is essential so as not to precipitate climate change further, urgent measures are imperative to evaluate and adapt to these increased risks due to intense cyclones, floods, and heat waves. Coming to climate tech and impact investing, climate cannot merely be thought of in terms of CO2 emissions. Often our narrow focus of climate activism due to reduce CO2 emissions result in a perception where climate gets relegated to the back burner in comparison with the challenges of, say, education, healthcare interventions, and livelihoods. We need to take a holistic approach to be able to deal with the climate challenges squarely. Climate tech powered by impact investing could be one of the main pillars of this holistic approach. A host of factors, including a significant amount of clean energy investments undertaken over the last decade, has placed climate tech in India at a very vantage position for a disruptive growth trajectory. The climate tech startup space in India, while nascent, is vibrant and has a variety of organizations at different stages working on solving for climate mitigation, adaptation, and resilience. Impact investing helps finance businesses meant to solve real challenges faced by society and to demonstrate that ethical and impactful businesses are indeed rewarded. Yet, few impact portfolios evaluate investments for climate impact, and fewer still invest in climate outcomes. Adoption of a climate lens through investing in sustainable models will increase impact over time, reduce future climatic and social problems, and protect businesses. Indian climate tech space has been occupied predominantly by energy and mobility startups, as is the case globally. Over the last decade, these sectors have witnessed significant techno-commercial progress, a predominantly favorable policy environment, and seen the evolution of more standardized frameworks for impact measurement, which have led to increased market adoption. Coming to sustainable mobility, I'm sure all of you will appreciate that sustainable mobility is a very crucial piece in our crusade, if I may say so, against climate risks. As per one estimate, by 2030, passenger traffic will exceed 80 trillion passenger kilometers and freight volume will grow by 70% globally. In fast-growing places like India, China, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Southeast Asia, billions of people will have higher lifestyle expectations and new mobility aspirations. Globally, the number of vehicles on the road is expected to double by 2050. Consumer demand for safer and greener mobility options that meet their shifting needs will drive innovation and growth in the sustainable mobility space. The outlook for EV adoption is getting much brighter due to a combination of higher policy support, further improvements in battery density and cost, and more charging infrastructure being built, and rising commitments from automakers. Passenger EV sales are set to increase sharply in the next few years, rising from 3.1 million in 2020 to 14 million in 2025. China and Europe will continue to be the dominant EV markets out to 2025, driven primarily by Europe's vehicle CO2 regulations, China's fuel economy regulations, and the new energy vehicle credit system. EV sales growth in Europe, China, and the US is expected to increase rapidly over the next 15 years. EVs would be taking longer to spread in India, Southeast Asia, and the rest of the world countries where low-cost internal combustion vehicles are hard to beat on price. In markets like India, sales are expected to grow rapidly only in the 2030s as the economics improve in these price-sensitive markets. The sale of electric cars and scooters has seen reasonable growth in India during the COVID-19 pandemic. For example, in Maharashtra, EV registrations have doubled in the last 2 years. Yet, EVs are still 1% of total new vehicle registrations in Maharashtra this year. EVs would receive mass acceptance only if a widespread e-charging infrastructure is in place, the battery cost goes down, and there are more incentives as well as affordability of e-cars and e-bikes. As you all know, that a major chunk of the cost of EVs is accounted for by the cost of the battery. I'm happy to note that today's session on sustainable mobility is going to discuss, among others, the enablers for accelerating e-mobility and looking beyond EVs, that is alternatives like hydrogen and other clean energy-driven mobility solutions, and the emerging role for startups in these exciting challenges. Against this backdrop, I look forward to the insights emerging from today's deliberations on these challenges and the attendant investment opportunities in the wider sustainable mobility ecosystem. As regards waste to value, given the high population density and increased industrial activity, the Indian waste management industry offers huge potential as a very small percentage of recyclable waste is being recycled currently. Landfill is one of the most popular methods of waste disposal in India, as more than 50% of the total solid waste generated is untreated and dumped into landfills, primarily due to inefficient waste management systems in India. Given this, as well as because of the government's Swachh Bharat initiative, Many startups are coming up with innovative ideas to manage waste as well as convert them into valuable resources. Swachh Bharat Initiative, the Indian government's flagship program to deal with waste collection and its effective management, is expected to provide immense growth opportunities to various upcoming startups that are focusing on providing innovative solutions. Electronic and biomedical wastes have also captured the attention of some startups, leading to finding creative solutions to deal with regenerated waste while aiming at safer disposal. It is heartening to note that a large number of startups, incubators, and accelerators have been trying to solve our energy efficiency problems and accelerate our transition to renewable energy and sustainable mobility. The network of clean tech startups that exist in India today only emerged in a meaningful way in the last few years. To leverage the imperative as well as demand for innovative solutions for recycling of waste, we need a collaborative approach among all the key stakeholders, namely the universities, incubators, investors, and the corporate sector. I'm sure that the upcoming session on this topic will delve into various opportunities emerging in this space. Now, on finance opportunities and the role of SIDBI in all this. Coming from a development financial institution, it would be really amiss on my part not to speak of SIDBI's role in various environmental related initiatives. SIDBI has been at the forefront of providing finance to SMEs to promote energy efficiency and cleaner production for their survival, growth, and competitiveness in the long run. With support from bilateral institutions such as the German Development Bank, KfW, JICA, the French Development Bank, AFT, SIDBI has over a long period introduced several credit lines for energy efficiency and cleaner production. Financing for many of these projects has moved beyond the support provided by international development finance organizations and is now part of SIDBI's mainstream business. Green financing by SIDBI adopts two-pronged approach. Firstly, providing concessional financial assistance through focused lines of credit for acquisition of energy efficient equipment or sustainable development projects in the MSME sector. Secondly, it supports various developmental activities like cluster-focused awareness campaigns and capacity building programs, leading to an enhanced awareness about energy efficiency. SIDBI, under the TIFAC SIDBI program, which is called the Srijan scheme, has supported recycling projects. The Srijan scheme is aimed at identification and assessment of technology innovations and to facilitate scaling up of industries, particularly the MSMEs. IDBI, under its partial risk sharing facility program, a World Bank supported initiative, has been playing a major role in developing the ESCO, that is the Energy Service Company market in India, which have in turn been supporting MSMEs to adopt best energy efficient practices through performance contracting route. The program has a provision to support projects in the field of e-mobility infrastructure, green building, etc., by way of providing 75% guarantee cover. Following the global trend, blended finance is increasingly characterizing the Indian clean tech financial landscape. In blended finance, development capital from public sources like the government or the developmental banks is used to decrease the risk of SDG-related investments, including clean tech, to attract commercial capital from private investors who would otherwise not have participated. It therefore blends the capital with development mandate with capital which is not development related, making clean tech investments more investable. The credit lines established by SIDBI for clean tech investments have provided great impetus to blended finance in the clean tech space in India. It is heartening to note that one session slated for this evening is going to dwell on various issues pertaining to blended finance opportunities for climate tech startups. SIDBI has recently joined hands with a few like-minded institutions like Acumen Fund Incorporated, NABARD, and Pegasus Capital Investors to set up India Climate Adaptation Fund, ICAF. The ICAF seeks to accelerate the uptake of climate adaptation projects in India, while also deriving mitigation co-benefits through blended financial investment of $2 billion in companies and technologies in certain high priority sectors in India. ICAF consortium is also seeking GCF funding for the first iteration of the fund, which is intended to attract substantial amount of additional private capital. ICAF is expected to invest in businesses and projects in the areas of A, restorative or regenerative agriculture, B, agricultural waste to energy or air pollution, C, coastal protection or resilience to climate change, D, water conservation and protection, and E, improved sustainability and energy efficiency in MSMEs and allied industries. The program is expected to contribute to achieving India's NDC targets and SDGs across economic, environmental, and social dimensions. SIDBI has been accredited as a national implementing entity from India for the Green Climate Fund, or GCF, and in this role, we expect to explore support from GCF for creating opportunities for blended finance for climate tech startups. To conclude, sustainable finance is no longer going to remain a pursuit of enlightened folks in the industry in general. In January 2021, the Government of India constituted an interministerial task force on sustainable finance chaired by the Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance, and comprising of RBI, SEBI, Niti Aayog, Ministry of Energy Efficiency and Climate Change, IRDAI, PFRDA, IFSCA, MCA, and the Department of Financial Services. The terms of reference of the task force include developing a roadmap on sustainable finance, a strategic framework for growing sustainable finance portfolio in India, and a clear timeline for implementation. It is pertinent to note here that the task force has formed a subgroup on building climate and ESG resilience in the financial sector, co-chaired by the RBI and SEBI, to examine the extent to which climate and environmental, social, and governance, which is ESG concerns, are effectively mainstreamed within the financial strategy, investment decision-making, risk management, and reporting processes of the Indian banking system, and the associated challenges and opportunities within the same. In other words, the process of mainstreaming sustainable finance for addressing climate challenges has well begun. And against this backdrop, this conference is very apt and timely. I hope that today's deliberations will bring out a few workable suggestions and recommendations for all the stakeholders to take the cause of sustainable finance forward for the sake of mitigating climate risks. Thank you all for a patient hearing. And thank you once again, Neha, for the opportunity.
Very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Mandal. After the impact SIDBI has created over the years across various sectors, we were really looking forward to your thoughts and points of action around climate change today. In fact, what an opportune time to talk about sustainable mobility, considering we celebrated the World EV Day yesterday. We agree, sir, that we need to take a holistic approach to solve the climate change challenge, and impact investing can definitely play a key role as a capital provider. I can assure you we all go back immensely inspired. Many thanks for your time, sir.
Thank you.